mystery and horror, the air itself is filled with monsters.
Children of the night, what music they make. He's alive! He's alive!
Well, hello, all you monster fiends, and thank you for joining us for another deep dive, factoid-filled episode exploring Hollywood's most famous monsters. I am your mistress of ceremony, Sam, and I am joined, as always, by Dan from Bleeding Mothers. Say hello, Dan.
Run while you've still got legs. Hiya!
Hi, Dan. I don't know what to expect anymore.
I like to keep you on your toes.
And you do, even though my feet are on fire right now. It's so. Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Monsters Up North podcast. This week, I thought we were going back to the 80s. Not quite. It's just there. Because I kept saying that last night. Oh God, this is good for an 80s movie. Says I would be if it was the 80s. It's the 90s.
Technically, it's on the cusp. We shall call it on the cusp.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're doing Nightbreed. Clive Barker's Nightbreed, and oh, how are we in for an interesting chit chat about this one? Sure, I'll do the disclaimer, and then we'll crack on open Nightbreed, or I just kept calling it. Oh my God, he's got the Nightbreed. Anyways, so everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us on our socials. Join us in the comments. Or join us in the Discord, where we can have an open discussion. But what we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong, because we can all agree to disagree in fandom. So let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of nerdism.
Yes, don't be a dick. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Nightbreed is the 1990 dark fantasy horror film written and directed by the legendary Clive Barker, based on his 1988 novella Cabal, even though I kept calling it Cable. Cabal. It stars Craig Sheffer, and Bobby, David Cronenberg, Charles Hayde, Hugh Quanchi, and Doug Bradley. Laurie thought she knew everything about her boyfriend. Laurie was wrong. Come meet the dead of the night as Monsters Up North brings you a Nightbreed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was two taglines in one, and I couldn't decide on which one, so I thought, you know what? I'm just going to take them both.
Fair.
Just going to take them both. This movie is something my husband was over the moon about that I'd watch, because he's been wanting me to watch it for such a long time. And when I eventually decided to, I fell asleep.
Well, you can understand why. It depends. The way it's cut, and we were just talking about this, the way it's cut throws you for a loop. Well, it threw me for a loop, obviously.
Yeah.
Depending, I don't know, because I only watched one specific version. But it did. It made me feel like I've missed massive bits of the film, and I thought I'd fallen asleep and woken up, but I don't think I did. I just don't. I don't.
You didn't. This movie there's 3 versions of it, and if you go out to go and watch it today, you will get the 2014 remake. Not remake, like what's the
Blu-ray? The Blu-ray, yeah.
Director's cut. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, but there's also a second one which is called the Cabal cut,
which was the fan-made cut, wasn't it? It was the I say fan-made. They found some footage and they used that, but it wasn't an authorized version.
No, what they found was the God, this is so confusing. But what they found was the original ending to the movie, and they put it as a post-credit scene after the 2014 one. But we will get you that. This will come and make complete sense when we talk about the movie, and especially the ending of it. Because there's not I want to say there was not a great deal out there, but it really, what I found was it really focused on the production of it and the fact that this is how the studios treat our lovely Clive Barker.
Well, I got into a couple of interviews with Clive Barker over it, and I've got some quotes and some stories off of Clive. And then I had to go into a bit of a side quest for some of the people involved as well, because like you say, again, not a great deal considering there's so much special effects work on this. There's not a great deal about the special effects that I could find.
But
So
what I did do, because I learned a lesson from last week, if you on IMDb, it has your whole cast and your crew.
yeah, you go.
So what I did was I went and took a list of the names of some of the there is a lot of creative work on here. You know, the person who did the sculpting didn't do the hair, the person who did the makeup didn't do the costume. You know, there was a lot of people in this. So what I did is I took names that looked incredibly familiar, and there is an actual website. It's like a makeup website and I typed these in and I got their credentials.
Yeah, I've got information to do with Chris Corbold, who was the main supervisor, the makeup supervisor. So I've got his information on this because he was the only one I could really look into, because he was an Oscar winner. So he's got info, but like the others was kind of hard.
I didn't get him. I got Mark Collier, Tony Gardner, Gary Bunn, and Robbie Drake. The credentials on these is ridiculous, especially Mark Collier. Collier. Sorry. Yeah, the credentials on him's ridiculous. So I was like, the minute this movie starts and you see the Nightbreed come up and all the monsters, like my mind instantly goes to, well, who did that? Who did that? I need to know. Actually, while we're here, while I'm on the page, I'll quickly just run through who we've got. So Mark Coulier is a makeup artist and prosthetic makeup expert. He worked on the Harry Potter films. He worked in X-Men, The Mummy Returns. And he and Roy J. Helland won the Academy Award for Best Makeup and BAFTA Award for Best Makeup and Hair for The Iron Lady. So it's like a bit of a step out. Like, that's a different kind of monster.
Yeah. The lady will not be turned. Or whatever the saying is. She took away my milk.
She took Aunt's dad's job.
Look, the milk at school dinners was far more important.
I understand that as a child of the 80s. But yeah. Tony Gardner is American makeup artist, designer, special effects designer, and puppeteer. So he is a dab hand of the puppeteering of this movie. He's designed creatures for feature films, including Zombieland. This one impressed us actually. 127 hours.
Whoa.
Yeah. Smoking Aces, Hairspray, Jackass Presents Bad Grandpa, The Addams Family, Seed of Chucky, Shallow Hal, There's Something About Mary. He created the signature helmets for Daft Punk.
All right.
As well as the animatronic robot for the technological music video. Not a Daft Punk fan, so I do apologize. Yeah, he's done a lot of work with Daft Punk. And Gary Bunn is known for Snow White and the Huntsman, The Fifth Element, and Lost in Space. And Robbie Brake is known for Attack the Block, The Machine, and Unknown. So that's the kind of caliber of people who were working on these monsters.
Yeah, same with Chris Corbold. He was the makeup supervisor on the whole thing. And he was an Oscar winner for the movie Inception.
Ooh.
He also worked on Alien 3, all the Tomb Raider movies, the original Brandon Fraser, Rachel Weisz, Mummy, and he has done many, many others, but he has also worked on 9 Bond movies. So everything from GoldenEye or even Tomorrow Never Dies. I think he's worked on so many. I get confused in the order that they come in, but he's worked on 9 Bond movies. He has done franchises like He's worked on X-Men. He's done so many movies. I mean, the thing is, being a good special effects / makeup person, it's an inbred community because they always go back to the people they trust the most.
Yeah.
And obviously, Clive is very much like a lot of directors, people like Neil Marshall, who we've interviewed before, where they like to use the same actors because because they like to they know what they're getting from their actors and they know how good they are you can direct them or they accept direction, stuff like that. And because he'd known Doug since he was 15, Doug got a place. And then you've got your Cenobites, so you've got your other cast in there. But yeah, with the makeup effects, it is the same guys that he will use over and over again because he knows the result is going to be good. But Clive was instrumental when he sat down at the makeup table with the special effects artists. And I know that he was very much insistent where they would sit and they would all literally just sketch. And I think he even let David Cronenberg come in and sketch a few and see what they could, like what. It was a test from Clive to David because he wanted to see what David's visions were and to see if he was on the same page. So they all, when it came to directing David, he knew that it wouldn't have to be a fight or awkward because David being a director himself already, Clive did have that kind of reservation that is this going to be really difficult? Am I fighting an uphill battle with David or is it going to be an easy thing? And it turned out David wasn't even acting. That is David.
That's David, yeah.
That is David. That is exactly what David's like. He's very calm, he's very cool, he's very collected.
Yeah, the minute he come on screen and he's talking with that, like it was the fact that he was like that's Boone's therapist, and he is then saying he's like, I need to see you. All right, well, I'm just getting out of the shower. That's okay. I'll wait for you. And who are you? Like, why? This is weird. And I was like saying, Anthony, why is he so weird? And he went, it's David Cronenberg. I went, what? I was like, that explains so much. Cronenberg actually wrote Naked Lunch during the production of this film.
He's like, yeah, there's a story about David Cronenberg, Tim Burton, and Clive Barker going out for dinner, and they were all discussing about how the story about Daddy, which is a really weird story. But to put it into context, this came from Clive Barker, and he was saying that he went out to lunch with them all, and he said, the thing is, when we finish making a film, we're exhausted. The producer is Daddy, and all you want to do is take the film to Daddy, and you want Daddy to love it. You want Daddy to say, good boy, and get the marketing department to go out and take it to the world. But the trouble is, you're so vulnerable at that point. If you don't get that response, you just go down a deep, deep hole. And then it says here that same thing happened with Tim when Tim was trying to get Beetlejuice up and running with the production issues and all this. We'll cover in a minute. But he was saying that there's lots of examples where people have tried to take their movie to Daddy and Daddy has just said, get the fuck out of here. But Tim managed to fight off the destruction of Beetlejuice. It could have been, and it would have been, a very, very different film.
Yeah.
And he was like, Clive completely blames himself for failing everybody in this movie. He said here, I felt that the movie had come out wrong. I felt that I failed my actors. The studio wouldn't even pay for the real actors to dub it. They had to put up with dubs from people he didn't know. They wouldn't even pay for Doug to fly out to LA at the time to do his voice or let Clive fly out to London to do it. He said, this is Doug. I've known him since I was 15. I hated it. So you begin to see why I felt so bad about it. I felt I'd left everybody down, including myself. There were a lot of people who had really given their love and pushed harder than they needed on my behalf. And we had nothing to show for it. It broke my heart. And that's,
oh my God.
That's how much he loved Clive is a writer first. The movies are not even something that he considers when he writes. He doesn't write for screenplay. He writes for Clive. He writes for the book, So, and you can tell that when you get to a lot of the cutaway scenes in this movie.
100%.
Especially the one where Babette touches Bobby and she goes back to see the persecution of the monsters. There's that whole cutaway scene, and that in itself is so Clive, the tortured souls kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's insane. The trouble this man had was it was beyond me. Basically, from what I can gather, when the Morgan Creek had the production rights to it, it was
Yeah.
bought on with one guy, Joe Rogan, something. It's not Joe Rogan, but it was Joe something, and he was completely on board with Clive's vision. He was happy where Clive wanted to take it. He loved the idea of the monsters being the good guys, not the bad guys, and he was really, ready to push it. But some inner politics meant that he got pushed out or left. So when the new guys come in, they didn't like the idea of monsters being the good guys. They didn't like any of that. So they marketed it a totally different way. They edited a huge part of it. They made it disjointed, and it's not the story that he wrote, not the story that he intended, even as a screenplay. Because he was trying to explain to the producers, if I remember rightly, because Clive produced Gods and Monsters, the James
The
Whale
James
story.
Whale one. I did not
Produced it.
know that.
Yeah,
That was such a good film.
he was an executive producer, or he was the producer on it. And he said that the reason why he wanted something to do with it, because he was fascinated with the way that James Whale worked on his monsters, and he always wanted the empathy. He always wanted the audience to love the monster and not the humans. The humans
Yeah.
were always the bad guys, the monsters were all the great guys. And so that's
Naturally.
where, he had a lot to do with using James Whale, the things that he learned from James Whale in his own writings, even though Clive comes from an incredibly dark, gritty place in his life. I mean, the guy was an ex-escort, Clive Barker. He was an escort to try and pay his way through uni and college. And I tell you what, as long as he was safe and he was doing it right and
Yeah.
everybody was consenting, then good on him. Do you know what I mean?
Who are we
But
to judge?
I don't. I think at the end of the day, you paid your bills, you got you where you needed to be, and
Yeah. Sometimes things are a little bit bigger than your dreams. Yeah, I know what I'm trying to say.
I know what you
Anyways,
mean. But
thanks.
yeah, so that's why he's known like that's why when you look at the core people like Simon Bamford and Doug Bradley and Nicholas Vincent, they're the same core guys he uses purely because he's known them since they were all kids together.
Trust.
So
It's
yeah.
trust. Um I've got the whole thing with Morgan Creek. But what got me was when Paul messaged me. I was just telling Dan earlier, but Paul messaged me last night and asked what I was up to, and I said, I've just finished watching Nightbreed, and he went, God, so it was a strange film. Didn't didn't match up to what the movie poster was like. And I was like, well, there's a reason for that, because the studio were dickheads. They've marketed this as a slasher movie. That's how they wanted people to see it, and it breaks my heart that just because it's a monster movie, and I can now that you've said he worked on Gods and Monsters, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because we all know what James Whale's empathy level is like when it comes to monsters, especially Frank.
You wouldn't have Frank and you wouldn't love Frank. Frank would be the boogeyman, but he's not.
Mhm.
He's the boogeyman, the bogeyman. I don't know how you say it, depending on where you come from, but that.
If it's me, it's Bogeyman,
Yeah,
Johnny
see,
Bogey.
I normally would say bogeyman, but I got told off the other day because it's supposed to be boogeyman.
But he's not from. He doesn't do disco.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking, but I shall just
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Um. Well, you mentioned that obviously the voiceovers
Hmm.
were done by other people. Rectified, 2014, director's cut. This is where Doug Bradley gets to redo his entire script.
Yeah, because the original guy that dubbed over was a German guy.
It was it was actors. It was actually a few people. Actor Victoria Barker, Jack Bennett, Alexis De La Rocha recorded additional dialogue that looped other characters into the director's cut. Yeah. Yes, but it was a German one who predominantly did his voice, and for the 2014 director's cut, which is what you will see if you go out and get this movie, Doug Bradley got a chance to do his, but the director's cut comes off the back of Clive Barker wanting to really, like, he had such a vision for
Mm.
this movie, and that vision was completely and utterly taken away from him. So he and a team went out to find every reel that was ever anything that was recorded in this to do his vision right. So the 2014 one, again, which is the one that you will get if you go and get this movie, um, is what is Barker's vision in its entirety.
It's still very confusing. So I
I
still
get
feel
that.
like there must be missing bits, or
Must be.
it made more sense at the time. I don't know. I mean, this is the issue I have. When you ever take a book and you turn it into a movie, people give Stephen King the utmost shit for that because his endings are always terrible. Even he makes jokes about it. But you're never going to get the same thing as you will from the book, as everybody knows. I mean, you look at Clive's history is his novellas and short stories have been The Hellbound Heart, which is Hellraiser. He did The Forbidden, which is Candyman. He did The Midnight Meat Train, which is a film I fucking love. The Meat Train. It's Vinnie Jones and Bradley Cooper. And Vinnie Jones plays a very silent guy who hacks people to death on a
What?
train at the night in New York. And Bradley Cooper starts stalking him because he's so fascinated with it. Honestly, The Midnight Meat Train is
Okay, that's going on
it's
the list for my weekend.
it's an absolute. I love that film. A lot of people don't, but it's the one for me where Vinnie Jones is not known as an actor in the UK. Vinnie Jones is known as a footballer in the UK.
I mean, you Americans will know him as Juggernaut.
Yes.
We don't. We know
No.
the true Vinnie Jones.
Yeah, he's
Um,
bad boy of football, played for Wimbledon. Do you know what I mean? He's not an actor over here. He's except for Lockstock. Lockstock is where he started to actually really start, like Lockstock and
it's
Snatch,
made.
where
It's
he
made.
sort of
But they're made for him. It's tailored to him. It's just
yeah.
him. There's not a great deal of anything special. That sounds awful because they are very good films and he does a really good job in them, but
No,
they
but I know.
are him.
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
Midnight Meat Train.
Midnight Meat Train.
It's
It sounds like a
absolutely
brilliant name.
fantastic. Obviously then you got the Book of Blood, and I know they've made a movie of that. That's now available on Amazon or Shudder. And then you've got The Last Illusion, which was The Lord of Illusion. So they do take a lot of his stuff and they do make movies from it. I mean, Clive isn't involved in all of them. He was, this was his second movie coming off the back of the original Hellraiser. So the original Hellraiser had a very small budget in the grand scheme of things. I think it had 900,000 as a budget, which is a lot, but not really when you look at the budget of this one, which was 11 million in
Ooh.
1990, which is the equation of
Oh,
26.5 million today's money. So this
wow. Okay.
is insane. Because of
I
Hellraiser
see
being
it
such
though.
less, because Hellraiser was 900,000 in the 80s when it was made, and it made something like 40 something million in the 80s in the box office. So that would put it at about, I want to say about 150, maybe 175 million in today's money. Hellraiser. So
Yeah.
all the movie studios were like waiting for the next installment of something to come out of Clive. So that's why they piled so much money in him. Unfortunately, this did tank at the box office, obviously due to the editing. So it had an 11 million budget by their standards then, but it only took 9.4 at the cinema, which was about 22.8. So it lost about 4-ish million, give or take. So it's classed as a complete flop. But
Wipeout.
as Clive says, it wasn't his movie.
Not his movie.
Not his
No.
movie.
What is no, not his movie. 20th Century Fox got their hands on it just before it went out, and that this is when I say he went looking for his reels, he really had to go looking for his reels because some got destroyed, some were just hidden away. One of them being Susie Quantrill's appearance in the movie. They completely and utterly cut it out. That couldn't even be found at all.
Mm.
It's absolutely heartbreaking. And he's not some I've owned a fair few Clive Barker books in my time because I don't know why my dad always assumed I was a Hellraiser fan. It might have something to do with the fact that I used to have a lot of. I love the Cenobites. I love the design work of them, and I used to have a lot of. I don't know if I remember if it was McFarlane who brought them out.
Oh, the Tortured Souls set.
Yeah, I had a few
It
of
was my
them, and
fun.
but in all honesty, I've never seen Hellraiser all the way through. I just love the designs of them. And I actually have, is he on my wall? I got his autograph. My dad got the eBay, the Christmas of eBay, where Dad went on ridiculous with autographs. One of them was Doug Bradley. I finally called him by his real name. I didn't call him Doug Jones. Yay! I, I kept doing it last night as well. But yeah, and my dad used to buy us a lot of Clive Barker books. And when I had a look on Amazon last night, I could see all my books, and I was like, they're gone. Like there's one that was actually signed. The illustration, I can't remember what it's called. The cover of it was it was red with like patchwork like on it, and it was signed. You'd get it as a signed book, and they're all gone. I never read any of them. I am far too scared to get into the mind of Clive Barker. But I did go and have a look for. Did you say it was Hellbound Heart?
Hellbound Heart, yeah, it's the Hellraiser series.
That clearly is not in print at the moment because it was £168
Hmm.
on Amazon, and I was like, oh shit. So I went and had a look on Vinted, my favorite place to go to next, and nobody. I mean, who would be selling that if it's not in print anymore? But I was devastated. Um, I was going to say something else. I've totally forgotten. Mine's gone completely blank. Oh yeah, the score.
Yes, I have a whole section on this
Me too.
because, if someone says they don't know who this guy is, just punch him in the tit.
Yeah. The minute his name come up, even Anth went shit. But you know how you said that him, Burton and Clive Barker would like have
Yeah,
time together.
choreographed.
When there was certain bits in it where the camera was panning over, Anth was like, "That's giving me a lot of Burton vibes." I was like, "Oh," and then you said that, and I'm like, "Oh, that makes total sense." Like, of course, like if the Friends is going to be it could be a homage or something, because it did feel like we were going over the town in Beetlejuice.
You got to think at this point, I think this is 1990. Beetlejuice was 1988,
Hmm.
I want to say, and obviously Pee-wee's Big Adventure was 1984, 1986, something. It was around that, we're talking Burton had a couple of movies out prior to this. So
Hmm.
Burton had done his work, but obviously you see the two words Danny Elfman and you go, huh, yeah, I get it. I
Oh
get
no. If I didn't see it, that music, that score, it's so I said it reminded us a lot of Sleepy Hollow, and Anth said more Edward Scissorhands. And
well,
then I was like, well, I'm getting a bit of Batman in there as well.
Well, the thing about it was that Danny's most famous, other than being like Tim Burton's music guy,
Yeah.
for being the lead singer of a band called Oingo Boingo,
I'm
who wrote
so glad
the
you said that.
he wrote the theme tune to Weird Science, the movie Weird Science, and that was one of their biggest hits, Oingo
Mhm.
Boingo. But he's also known as, and here we go, um, he's known as the singing voice of Jack Skellington. He also
Yeah.
wrote all of the music for Nightmare Before Christmas. Obviously, Chris Sarandon was the speaking voice for Jack, but he was the singing voice for Jack. But the thing was, when they were recording the score for this, it was an R-rated movie, and all of the singers were choir boys. So they had to get them to turn their back to the screen. They weren't allowed to watch the movie whilst they were
Oh
singing
my God.
because it was too much for the kids. So, he put, can you imagine, boys will be boys. There was no fucking way they were going to stand with their backs to the screen while all this horror's going on. They all wanted to watch it. But
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, it's insane when you look at Danny's back catalogue, though. You're talking, he's done, taking your Burtons out, he's done Dick Tracy, Mission Impossible, The Frighteners, Men in Black, Spy Kids, Red Dragon, Hellboy 2, The Wolfman 2010. He's done he's gone into a lot of Marvel movies as well. He's done Age of Ultron. He did Multiverse of Madness. But working with Raimi does not surprise me in the slightest because that seems
No.
right up Danny's alley.
Yeah.
And Danny is on tour as well now, still singing, still singing, still on
Um,
singing his songs and performing his theme tunes and whatnot.
I've seen him. Seen him
See, I
live.
am jealous. I am jealous.
Told you, Forrest Gump of music right here. Yeah, I saw him in 2019, when the Nightmare Before Christmas was doing a tour around the UK. Me and my sister went up to Glasgow, and to watch him do what he does best was just magical. To then see Catherine O'Hara singing Sally's song was just the only thing that could have topped it for us if Paul Rubens was actually there, because he is part of Lock, Stock and Barrel. But it wasn't. It was Greg Troops. I've already told this story before. But yeah, if Paul Rubens was there, that would have been unreal. But yeah, it was so much fun. I would definitely, honestly, even if I had to go, like, even if it was just for Nightmare Before Christmas, I'd definitely go and see him again. The man is just, he looked spectacular.
But
Like,
even Clive says that as far as him and Danny are concerned, Danny hails this as one of his most favorite soundtracks he's done to a
I
movie.
can honestly see why. It's it fits it so well. It helps place you where you need to be.
Mm.
But it's because when you think of this movie, I don't know if you felt the same, but fantasy is not where I'm heading with it. Um, but that music really helps you get into that fantasy fit, especially when you're in, the underground of their lair and
Yeah, there's a I have lots of questions with this film, but yeah.
Well, do you want to get into the film?
Well, did you know that Clive Barker was obsessed with um the writings of the writings of Philip K. Dick? I just wanted to make sure I got his name right there. Who was the guy who wrote Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is Blade Runner, right?
I did know that.
Yeah, hence why he's called the Cronenberg's
I've just
character.
found it.
Yeah, he's called Philip Decker, in the Dr. Decker, and it's named after Decker from Blade Runner, and Philip K after the author, which was Philip K. Dick, because he absolutely loved Blade Runner when it came out. Hence why he'd approached originally Rutger Hauer. I never say his name properly. Hauer. He'd approached him for the lead part, which was Boone, and he also approached at the time, because if I'm right, Highlander was out around then. Christopher Lambert got approached for that one as well.
Yeah.
And then this is the one that got me right. Simon Bamford played no, forgive me, Onaka, the guy that was carrying the little Frenchy Boston pug everywhere thing, dog.
Yes, yes.
And
Is this the soft cell reference?
yes, he was
Right. Oh, yeah, this blew my mind.
yeah, they approached Mark Arman. Now, bearing in mind, when I was about 17, I was in Camden Market buying myself a sheepskin jacket, and I looked up and Mark Arman square across the thing buying himself a sheepskin jacket on the other side of the this thing, and
I'd
I
have
was like,
lost my mind.
he was absolutely covered, tattoos up to his neck, and one of those moments where you're just like, nah, that's not. It was him, 1000%, it was him, and it was he was absolutely. He wanted to do it. Mark
Mhm.
was obsessed. He wanted to play the part, but the record company ultimately said, no, it's not going to do your image enough good. You can't have it. You can't do it. And he had to back out at the last minute because of it, which I thought was pretty shitty. But I can kind of understand it, because it's a day. The 80s were a weird time for anybody who was gay anyway, obviously.
Yeah.
And so they were trying to downplay Mark's.
He was going into this kind of crooner time of his singing career, and this is when
Yeah.
he's doing something's got a hold of my hand. It's one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
and,
It's one of my favorite Mark
Hey,
Arman songs.
Burley Spencer. Yeah, they were
Pick
trying
I think
really
this is
hard to downplay the possibility of homophobia, shall we say. So they were trying to bring
There's
Mark down.
damage control.
Yeah. In the 80s, that's what they did. And obviously, Clive also being gay. It was a thing that they didn't want to cross the streams and get like the hate and sully all the work that they'd been doing, you know, and this is air quotes for those of you that are listening, not watching. So the damage control was, no, you can't do that. You can't be known, you know, with all that S&M and all that horror and, you know,
Yeah.
we've been working so hard to make you look like you're the next Dean Martin, you know, it's like, it's not going to work.
Sad times. I was obsessed with Mark Almond as a kid.
Mm.
Absolutely, like Tainted Love. Yes, yes, please. I absolutely loved him. It goes down to the leather jacket. I was obsessed with Bros, denim and leather.
The Bosch caps on your shoes.
Oh, Grolsch.
Grosh.
I'm from the north, remember?
Oh, sorry.
My dad used to work in a pub as well, so they were like easy to get hold of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at what other like little things I
Bits and
have.
pieces you've got.
Yeah, Clive did have a quick cameo in it, but you would never
Yep.
have noticed him because he was a cat or something.
Yeah, he was a cat-like monster mask. That's all he wore was a cat-like monster mask. The only thing that I've got, but I'll probably play more into when we're going through the movie. The Nightbreed got turned into a comic book.
Yeah, and I called him Nicholas Vincent, I think, earlier, but his name's Nicholas Vince, so I was
Yeah,
close.
I've just seen it. Yeah, you're kind of close. And also a video game, if my memory is serving me right. I have not wrote that down, but I'm sure we were talking about this last night, and there was a video game.
Yeah, I think you're right, there was. There's a weird
What
thing
was it?
because when you look at like I had a quick look at Craig and Anne's like IMDb history to see
Mhm.
what they've been up to. And Craig is basically turned into your TV guy. He's
One Tree
like
Hill.
basically when I had a look at this, literally all of the actors that have come off the back of this, excluding we're not talking about Doug or Simon, you know,
Mhm.
not those guys, but the actors that they've been banished to TV land, right?
Yeah.
Because Craig he's done like CSI Psych, One Tree Hill, Anne's done she's done so many made for
He
TV
was
Hallmark movies.
she was beautiful in this
But then
movie.
she now predominantly does voiceover work for computer games, and she is known for Red Dead Redemption 2. She's done all the BioShock games.
Oh, well done
She
her.
literally, that's what she does now. So it's insane because when you actually start looking into the characters, the majority of them are actually British, you know, born in not the characters, the actors.
Yeah.
So there's very few that are actually American in this as well. So, and it was all filmed supposedly in Canada as well. So this was all based in Canada, this film as well. Midland or whatever it's called,
I didn't realize, but there is a fair few studios called Pinewood. And I didn't realize there's one in Atlanta, there's one in London. I know I've seen one in London. And then there is one in Canada. Canada is the best place to go film movies because it's cheap.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't go into the matte paintings, and that's the one thing that bothered me the most. I wish I had. I was starting to, and then I got distracted. But that for those of you who don't know what a matte painting is, it's mainly predominantly used by people like James Cameron and all the Star Wars stuff. It's when you don't have the budget and you don't have the cast to be able to create a huge set or you know many crowds and things like that, so and you don't have the ability to finance small maquettes or small like miniatures, so you get someone to paint a picture but they do it in perspective so it looks like it's part of the set. But some of them on there were absolutely stunning. Some of those sets that the matte paintings that were done, you can blatantly tell they're matte paintings, but they are bloody good. Like the cemetery scenes, you could see some of them were physical buildings that they'd made, but
Yeah.
everything in the background were like these mausoleums that were just absolutely
Stunning. I even said to Anth at one point she looks superimposed on there. It doesn't look real. And I don't know if it's because we're watching it on my big telly or what, but it's like, yeah, that doesn't look, it's too crisp, it's too clear, and she does not look like she's in the right place. It looks like she's walking on the grass, like on top of it.
With the 4K ultras and the 1080p like cleanups, I think sometimes you lose the charm because it can bring out the faults more.
Yeah.
yes, it's nice to
Crisp,
have a
clear
like
picture.
4K version, a decent picture, but then you sort of lose all the charm because you're like, oh, that's terrible. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. That's old.
Oh,
That looks terrible.
oh,
Geez, what did they do that? Color that in with a crayon, you know?
it's when you can see hairlines of people who you know are wearing, especially. Do you know what it is on me big telly in the living room? I don't see as much because of you got to sit right back to watch that thing. But on the one in the bedroom, that is like 4K. Poor. And I used to hate when I used to watch Selling Sunset that you could see all of the hairlines, you could see the makeup jobs, you could see the contouring that hadn't been quite. Oh, I was like, oh, I can't watch this I mean, I can't watch this again for obvious reasons because it's absolutely diabolical. But yeah, it really shows you the worst sides of makeup. Um, only thing I've got is I say only thing I've got. One of the things I've got is Decker's knife.
You
It's a
mean his
sur-
samurai sword?
it's a
Jesus
it's a
Christ.
surgical it's a surgical blade used for amputation, and
Mm.
it is associated with Jack the Ripper due to its appearance in From Hell. But that is from 2001. So who stole what now?
Yeah, it was definitely them.
Yeah.
It was definitely Johnny Depp. I did hear that. Now, I don't know when this was in discussion because there's always discussions. They're looking at turning Nightbreed into a TV series. Now, this has been talks for a long time,
Oh,
but
right.
the person that they're looking at to do it, to direct the TV series, is the same guy that is responsible for Sam from Trick or Treat, and he was the guy that Michael. Gone blank on his surname, but him, the guy that invented Sam and did Trick or Treat, is the guy that they're looking at directing Nightbreed.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
is it Michael O'Donoghue or something like that? It's
Yeah, because I couldn't see it when we did the episode, so probably yeah.
we he also just came off of the back of doing God's King Kong versus Godzilla, the monsters, King of Monsters, or whatever it was called. That
He
one.
did that.
I think that was him.
Do you know, I can't remember, and it's so weird. We've learned all this stuff about these movies. I can't remember half the shit we've learned, you know.
That's the thing. When we finish a movie, it goes
Has
into the
to.
box, and then we move on to the next one. And so you remember gradual things when you're bringing them out again, but they just sit in the box. They just sit in the
It's a
box. They're not.
it's a good job. It's a good job we press record on this stuff. Otherwise-
I couldn't do all this again. We just
no,
go nah, next week.
no. It's one of my worst nightmares. Is something happening after we've said goodbye, and it's like, Dan, got to do that all over again.
It's the real tears. Then I'll be like,
Oh, why? Yeah, we were. This is another thing we were talking about last night because I was like saying, Anthony, he agreed. I could see this as a made-for-TV movie. The way that it was shot, it
Mhm.
felt very, and I can only go off the one that I really know, which is the Stephen King It made-for-TV movie. But some of the way it was shot, some of the palette as well, just kind of like made us go, oh. And then I was like, God, this could be a TV series. They could really flesh this out
Mm.
because there's some decent monsters in there with some like there's one with a banana head. We'll get into him. I loved him.
It's the fact that I think they might have chosen Michael because of how Buttonface looked like Sam. There's
um,
like
yeah. Is
you know, that's what they're calling
that what
Dr.
he's called?
Decker's
Button face.
alter ego Buttonface because he has the
Hey,
button eyes on the
button face.
sackcloth. I mean, he's got the zip, but it's not like, Sam's mouth is sewn shut, but like there's similarities. So
Yes.
I can see,
Yeah, I can see if that's what they're gonna use as a thing. I
mm,
can see what you mean. There was one thing that I did read, and I didn't know if I was going to bring it up or not. I feel like I'm going to. Guy called Jodorowsky. I think he's a director. I can't see his first name. I can barely see his surname, but he did a full kind of breakdown of the eroticism and homosexuality in a good way.
all
He's
right.
not. Oh God, yeah, no. I think they're friends. Um, I think him and Clive are friends. But it was how brilliant Clive is at bringing homosexuality into his movies without directly going, this is a gay movie. And if they want to, I didn't take any notes on it because I generally didn't know if I was going to bring it up or not. But if you want to, his full thesis that he did on it is available for you to have a read. It is really interesting. Just a bit too out of my vocabulary. Because I mean, I've been at work all day and I was like, I don't want to be the person to butcher this.
Mhm.
So I do urge you to go and have a read of it. It was really interesting. But yeah, it was all good. All good. I always used to like saying his name. Because he's got something to do with Dune. Um but yeah, Jodorowsky. I can't say his first name, and I didn't write it down, and I ain't going looking for it. I ain't pressing Google open at this time. Um, shall we go through the movie? Because there's few things that I want to go through.
Yes.
I love saying Bathmet, Bathmet, Bathmet. Boone, yes. One Tree Hill. Anthony noticed him straight away and went, "Oh my God, that's him from One Tree Hill." And I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, it is." He was also in American Horror Story.
Yeah, he had a fleeting part, didn't he?
Played Richard Nixon.
Really?
Yeah, because apparently even I was watching because I started going having a look to see what videos were available on YouTube surrounding this and there was an interview with him at HorrorCon. He was at HorrorCon last year, year before.
Which one, Sheffield or For the Love?
No, it was definitely not For the Love. It was the Sheffield one. And he did an interview with this guy, and he mentioned he was like, he said, "Oh, you've done TV," and he went, "Yeah, I've just done American Horror Story. I played Richard Nixon. Don't I look like him?" And I was like, "Actually, you do. The
You know,
nose,
it's
the
like
nose."
I haven't Googled it, and I nearly did, but to me, him and David Aurora Borealis look very, very similar. Like to me, the two of them look like they were made from the same
It's
DNA,
the
but like
square head.
there's something, honestly, in a lot of those shots when I was watching it, I kept looking at it and thinking he looks like Angel. You
I
know,
get that.
he's got that.
He had some delicious lips, though, I must say. Like the way that oh my goodness. And what really got us when you get introduced to Aaron Boone, what a name as well. Um, he can act. And this what kind of threw us. I was like, "Do you know, I've watched a lot of movies from the 80s. He's got, come on, you're good. We've just come off the back of Frankenhooker. And what did you do last week?
Killer Clowns.
Killer
Uh,
Clowns. Come
yeah,
on.
I'm not saying he can't. I just think it was so out of place for how dumbed down the script could be for him. Like
He was
they had
angry.
some
What?
choices happen that just
Yeah,
did not make sense, and there was no exposition to explain how they got there or how this even occurred. And it's like you're just thrown at the beginning, you're pretty much thrown into the middle of the story. And
you
you're like,
are. Like, and I do get what you're saying, but there was because for me there was some parts he was angry when he didn't need to be. And it's like pull your shit together. Like the way he treated Doug Bradley's character, that was completely and utterly unnecessary.
it was bizarre. I
Um,
get angry with him all the time. And I was like, dude, just
he's an
chill
old man and he's got a lot of eyes on his face. Give him a fucking break.
I didn't realize they were eyes. I thought they were slits until you
The
saw the
weren't.
upshot of them, and then they saw they
Uh,
were eyes.
oh, Dan and me bottom jaw went. Like, nah, I don't do. I tell you what, since I've watched what's that film with Demi Moore in?
Substance.
Yes, don't do eyes.
This
Oh yes.
available now on bleedingmarvelous.com. Yeah,
Da-da-da.
yeah, it's
Don't do eyes. I don't do eyes.
I get it. It was that it's hard. The thing about Clive's stuff is he makes it hard to look at, but you still don't
Mm,
mind looking at it at the same time.
you can't not. Like
That's what I mean. He forces you to look at it and really look at it.
like
So
the
you're,
very obese man with the head in the stomach.
but he had the snake things come out.
Oh, that's the other guy. That's the guy. Yeah,
Oh,
that's the yeah,
right.
that's another guy who has the yeah, no, eyes. I don't have eyes because the minute he turned around and I could see that they were eyes, his slits in his face, I was like, no, make it stop, make it go away.
I mean, this whole film at the begin. Now you'll have to correct me. Is the beginning the button face killing, or is that the very opening scene, or is the very opening scene him and Anne?
Him and Anne,
Laurie, sorry, him and.
Laurie, sorry, him and Laurie. Um, he's having a nightmare
Mhm,
about Midian.
mhm,
Um, I'll get into Midian in a minute because there's very confusing on this one. But yeah, he's having these nightmares about a place called Midian where all the monsters are.
mhm.
And his girlfriend Laurie knows all about his nightmares and totally fine with it. And while she's fucking off to go and sing in a show, he's in the shower and his psychiatrist calls saying, "I need to see you." Well, I'm having a shower. It's okay. I'll wait for you. No, you fucking won't. Um, yeah, Dr. Decker, Dr. Philip Decker. Philip Decker. Sorry. Um, yeah. So Dr. Philip Decker, David Cronenberg for everyone else. Then it cuts away to this family, this really nice family who
Mm,
all look like they get on really well with each other. And you see the killing of, and it's the kids. It's the baby. He kills the two parents, and then I mean you don't see it, but
mhm.
he because you're not allowed to do things like that, especially in Canada.
It's
And
nice.
then you see he just walks up to them, and obviously the kid's dead. But that's the first time you see Button Face. Button Face.
Yeah, I mean, I like how stoic he is. Like, and like I said, apparently that is why Clive wanted David to do it because David wasn't acting. David was just being
Creepy.
David. And he just that's the way David carries himself. That's the way David is. So it wasn't like
But now
he
you've called him Button Face. It's
that's
taken
his
all
name. That
out.
honestly, that's the name of him. They've all got ridiculous names, and that's the only one I can really pronounce. So that's all you're getting.
So when we get to meet Philip Decker again, and this is when Boone's gone to the office,
Mhm.
and he tells him that this place Midian that and all these stuff that you've told me in the past, it's all come true because you just killed all these people, and
Yeah,
he
and he
just
laid
like
out all these crime scene photos
it's
of dead
it's
people. I was like,
it's amazing how fucking terrible the police are at their job if they're relying on a fucking doctor who constantly is in the right place at the right time to do their investigation work. What a bunch of how did they not put fucking two and two together?
it's
It took me 5 minutes.
more so the fact that like his wank bank he was laying out for him. Not like, do you know what I mean? There was even
Yeah.
this was his porn and he was showing him his porn. Look what I've done. Look, but actually it was you. Ha ha
You did it.
ha.
You did it all. And he convinces him that he's going to give him lithium. And there's no fucking way in this world I'm taking tablets just because some fucker told us to. Like, I barely take my own medication. But he doesn't give him lithium, he gives him LSD.
Mm,
So, I want to go back to Midian for a second because
yeah,
they really fucking lay the foundation that Midian is this made up place.
yeah.
And especially when because Boone gets himself into an accident. So Boone gets hit by a lorry, right? But manages
Randomly.
to walk out with a bump on his head and a scratch on his face. I
Ah,
was like,
yep. Woke up in the hospital with his leather jacket and boots still on, in one piece.
amazing, with the police around him as well. But he meets a fellow person who is talking about Midian.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, in the doctor's office, they lay it on, and they give me the impression anyway that Midian is a made-up place,
Mhm.
and it's all in his head. And all he's done is just reenacted his fantasies from his head into real life. But then
Mhm.
when you get to see this other guy, he's talking about Midian, and because he is slightly unhinged, turns out to be my favorite character in the whole fucking film, by the way.
It is Narcissus, isn't it? His
Yeah,
Narcissus, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's actually Glaswegian,
Um,
that guy.
love him.
Yeah.
Best thing about this film. Um, and when he meets him, and obviously because of how unhinged he is, it's then again Midian
Oh,
is
yeah.
no, but it's a well-established place because there's a whole town there with police and everything.
Yeah, I mean, if a guy's standing in front of you carving off his own face,
Oh my God, that
and
scene
you're
was
like,
unreal.
and he's like, he just Boone's just staring at him in complete disbelief the whole time, and he's like,
I mean,
"No."
he has just been taking LSD. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's one
is this
bad fucking trip. Let's be
is
honest.
this it's a bad fucking come down. Is this really happening? He just turns out to be one of my fucking favorite characters in this whole thing. Um, the no shit attitude that came from him was just absolutely brilliant. But when, so after, what? How did you pronounce his name?
Narcissus?
That's what I said. I said to Anthony's Narcissus because there's a lot of sisters in there.
Narcissus, Narcissus. I know that his name was based on the very first and only recorded Haitian zombie to ever live. White zombie. Yeah.
But yeah, I did read that. But what also was in the brackets was allegedly.
Oh, yes. I mean,
Alleg-
the Haitian
oh
zombies are
boy.
not technically zombies like we know them as zombies.
But if you want to learn about Haitian zombies, we've got a whole episode on White Zombie.
Mm-hmm.
It's only from a few weeks. It feels like a fucking lifetime ago. Um, yeah. So we've met Narcissa, and Midian is almost confirmed to be real because he's kind of like, take me there. And he's like, well, you know how to get there. And he's like, I don't know how to get there. And he's like, well, I know how to get there, but I'm not going to take you there. And that's when he rips his whole head off.
Because you've got to be bad to get there. You've got to be bad. When you're bad, you know how you can get there, or something like that. You've got to be a monster to know that
Oh,
you
yeah. That's
that's
right.
it,
Because
isn't it?
Boone's dead.
Well, this
Not
is where
yet.
no, not yet. This is the weird bit, right? Boone's convinced he's killed all these people. Boone's
Yeah.
convinced he's a murderer.
Yeah.
Um, and so through his conviction and the LSD, he remembers where Midgard is. Midgard, why do I keep calling that?
I was doing
Yeah,
that as
right.
well.
He
Midian.
knows where Midian is. So he goes to Midian and he goes to see if it's real. Other than being sensible, like he's just driven however long to get there, not told Laurie, see you later, thanks, love, I'm off. I've just almost died in a lorry, been run over by a lorry. But no, he drives all the way to Midian, and it turns out Midian is a cemetery in the
Beautiful
middle of
cemetery.
nowhere. And what does he do? What every normal person does when they enter a cemetery, goes to sleep inside the cemetery.
Is that not what we do?
I I was like, dude, like, and this was the bit where this is just because this is the only bit that comes to mind when you said he could really act when he just fake yawned and fell asleep all of a sudden. Like it was like,
Oh,
oh,
what
I
I
was
meant what I meant by that was, seeing the acting chops in Frankenhooker and what have you do? Killer Clowns from Outer City. Like this was a bit of a breath of fresh
oh
air. It was
yeah, I'm not.
like he's really fucking trying. Um, just maybe too hard sometimes. But yeah, this he gets shot, doesn't he? Because the police come after him because Decker's like, it's
Well,
him.
yeah, this is the bit where he's first introduced into like he gets woken up by the little Frenchie, the little Boston Terrier jumping all over him and licking his face, and he freaks out, and then the dog runs
Yes.
away, and I've forgotten his name already. Simon Bamford's guy, or Naka, I think it's called. He
Is he the one with the growly voice?
he's the bald-headed one that carries the dog everywhere with the rat neck. I think it's a rat head necklace.
Yes, he kind of he entices him, but it's the two other guys. It's Banana Head, and you telling me that wasn't a banana?
It's supposed to be a crescent moon,
I'm
apparently.
sorry, that's a banana. He had his hair at the top, which was a black tip, and then his chin at the bottom, which again was a yeah, it was a banana. And no moons about that. And then the guy with the growly voice, the red and
Yeah.
everything. Oh my good God, I got Hellraiser like vibes from him, but it was I loved it.
Because they captured him because he wanted to eat him.
Yeah,
But
no.
the other one was like, no, it's against the law, we can't do that. And he's like, fuck the law, I'm hungry, I want to eat him. So he bites him, and in biting him, it infuses him with the monster serum blood something. It does something, like
They're entwined.
yeah, if you've ever seen Craven, when the bit of blood from the fucking lion drops into the Craven the Hunter's bloodstream, and all of a sudden Craven the Hunter becomes like a blood, like a weird predator. Yeah, it's where that stupid nonsensical magic is supposed to happen to your
With
DNA.
blood.
Yeah, so basically this monster guy bites Boone, and then Boone leaves with the bite, And as he's walking, if now you'll have to bear with me, I might have missed a bit of a chunk here, but as he's walking out, Decker and his band of merry shit
Oh, merry
policemen
man.
up to him, and Decker says, "Oh, just give me a second with him. I need to talk to him." And that's when
He's
Decker goes up and frames him, isn't it? Decker said,
yeah.
"I believe you. It's all," because he's saying to him, "It's all real. Midian is real." And he's going, "I believe you. I believe you." And then out of nowhere, Decker screams, "He's got a gun!" and runs away. And instead of just everybody actually checking his hands, they all go full LAPD, NYPD, full like full on, and just shoot the shit out of this guy. And it's
They
like,
they literally just they open war on this poor fella for no
it's
like
sad, isn't it?
on the back of this fucking doctor's say. Honestly, how much pull does this doctor have? Yeah,
Yeah,
they
go
go
on, sorry.
full no, they go full throttle on him, and he didn't have a gun.
No,
But
it's when the
they didn't.
policeman goes up to him, the guy that always plays good people in every movie he's ever been, he always plays a good guy. That guy was in like Star Wars, Phantom Menace. He's been in
Yeah, he
so
was.
many movies. Hugh Quashi. I can't pronounce his surname. I do apologize
I'm
because I
not
haven't
even
got it
gonna
written down,
try.
so I can't do it. But he walks up to him and he goes, "I don't see no gun," or something along those lines, and it's like, yeah, you could see he had his hands up like this when you're shooting the shit out of him. There was no gun. And he goes, "I don't see no gun." And Decker goes, "He put his hand in his pocket." And I was like,
Oh, for God's sake!
God, you
What?
really do put some stock in this guy, don't you? You
Yeah,
know.
and also what got me, how many rounds were put off? How many bullet holes did he should have been nothing.
It's
Like literally nothing. But
yeah.
he had a couple and yeah, the amount of bullets that went off should have been a lot more damage done. I'm just saying. But yeah, Boone's dead.
Hmm. Yeah, he's
End of
laying
the
on the
movie.
floor dead. They take him to the morgue. They start performing an autopsy, and then two of the guys decide it's break time halfway through. They go for
It-
tea. So
well,
I was just like, yeah, because that's
this
how
is
it works.
Well, this is how my brain worked in this, because yes, the bullets would need to come out first because that needs to be examined straight away.
Yeah.
And this is my knowledge from Dr. Richard Shepard, who he didn't specialize in guns and bullets more than he did knife wounds, and oh, fuck the amount of knowledge I've got on that. But it would make sense to not start the full autopsy before having a break because
That makes sense.
that's when you crack the front open
Put your
and
Y incision in, and
your
you
Y incision and then you
out,
start.
and
Yeah,
you
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, and you start with all the good mushy gooey stuff. So yeah, in my brain, I'm like, yeah, of course you would go for a break right now. But you literally have just started. Like you have not done enough to warrant a break at this point.
No, you haven't. So when they walk back in and they find he's not there anymore, it's like, yeah, okay, someone stole the body.
Instantly go to someone's been body snatched.
Because clearly you let anybody in to walk away with the body, you know.
Honestly, the lack of concern. No, like, there's no nobody is running out the building to go and try and find.
And somehow he gets from the morgue back to Midian. Like, we don't talk about how long it took him to walk it or how he got there. I can't really remember that bit. If there was even
No, there wasn't. And this is the bit I was telling you about earlier. He literally goes from one place to another and he's standing with Banana Head, and there's no explanation as to how he got there. So we think that's got something to do with missing reels, cutting, editing, the director's cut. Yeah, that's the part is going from the hospital to because all of a sudden he's just there with Banana Head.
And then there's some ritual because obviously he needs to be made full Nightbreed at this point because he had the bite and he died after he'd had the bite. So he had the monster put into him, but he wasn't naturally a monster. So he hadn't committed a crime because the snakehead guy did say to him, "Who
You're
told
an
you?"
innocent.
Yeah, because he kept saying, "But I'm a monster, I'm a monster." He's going like, "Who told you that?" And he's going, "They told me, they told me." He's like, "Well, he fucking lied to you." And then he
Yeah.
bit him, or he bit him after. I can't remember.
Yeah.
He bit him
He,
before, or
no,
bit him after.
yeah, he kept referring to the fact that he was an innocent.
Yeah,
And he was did they call them naturals?
naturals. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, he kept referring to that, so it clearly see that like Boone isn't I mean we all knew Boone was an innocent man because Cronenberg is Buttonface.
mm.
Um
Nice.
When I figured it out, I felt so good about myself. I was like, oh my God, the doctor's the killer. And then I was like, oh my God, he's gonna go Nightbreed. I think Anne's got more enjoyment out of me watching it than watching the actual film. It's the fact that they were like, you're gonna go full Nightbreed. I was like, this is awesome.
And then Doug Bradley
Awesome.
sticks his hand in some white stuff and literally just slaps him on the chest with it and goes, "There you go," and he's healed. He says,
You are
"Now you're
Nightbreed.
alive. Off you trot." And I'm like, eh?
What really surprised me, I always have this image in my head that Doug Bradley is this giant of a man, like huge, because Pinhead is massive, like the stature of him's huge. So that's my imagery. So when I see this tiny little thing, I'm like, who the fuck are you? And it's him.
I can safely say I've met Simon and I have met Doug. I met Doug at Spooky Empire in 2023, and Simon was actually there as well. And they've both been at HorrorCon that same year in Sheffield. And as some of you well know, I sponsor that event every year, have done for the last 5, and this will be year 6. But that year had been probably the best year we'd ever
Yeah.
had financially, due to the Hellraiser reunion that they'd had. And so when we met Doug, I just said to Doug, because obviously we're British in America, and I just said, I just want to say thank you so much for HorrorCon Sheffield. And he just looked really kind of taken aback, and I was like, best show we ever did. I said we were the main sponsors. I said, and I just want to say thank you very much for that. And he was like, oh, no problem, he's absolutely really lovely, but I must say, he must be in between 5'7", 5'10", Doug. He's not tall man. He's like somewhere in that kind of, I wouldn't
He's
say
my
short,
height.
but he's somewhere around there because he's in between me and Rob. Rob's 6'2", I'm 5'3". So there's like a, when you see the photo, we're
And
like,
that is a huge fucking gap, by the way.
yeah. But I'd say he's around maybe 5'10". I think I'm probably been doing him into
I'm
service at 5'7", but
I'm
I'd say he's about 5'10".
I'm 5'9".
Yeah.
So
And
probably about the same age as me.
Simon was sat at his like desk at Spooky, and I went up and I had a chat with him, and I just said the same thing to him. Thank you very much. You have no idea. He said it's such a great show. He said, I don't know how many times I've done that show. I love doing HorrorCon. We always get the best people come to that one. He said, oh, next time you come and see me and you say hello. And it's just one of those things where two people that you've grown up seeing on TV through, like
Yeah.
on movies, through different things, perfectly normal people, not affected by the Hollywood
No.
thing in any which way. And I think Nicholas Vince was there, but I don't think he was at his desk at that time. And he'd been one of the
Oh,
reunions,
that's a shame.
and they'd had oh God, I've gone blank on her name. I can see her, and everybody, especially Peaches, she's going to kill me for that one. But the
Yes.
female
Anything.
Cenobite, I've gone
Yes, I
blank.
know. I know who you mean.
Name.
That was that was the yes, I know what year it was because I was on my way to town with my mom. Peaches just texted me her picture of her in the car, and
Mhm.
she is half Cenobite, half normal person, cuddling a teddy bear. My mom thought it was the best picture ever.
I'm annoyed now because I can see it's there, her name, and I'm getting on my own nerves for not knowing
Do you
it.
want me
But
to
yeah,
Google it? I'll Google it.
buh,
I'll Google
buh,
it. But
buh, 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 buh.
she's in Hellraiser, yeah?
Yeah, she was the female Cenobite in Hellraiser.
Oh, I
But
shouldn't write that. Um, Claire Higgins? Ashley
no,
Lawrence?
no.
Oh my God, there's Simon. Um,
Ashley was the main girl. Claire was yeah, Claire was the main. Oh God, Julia. Claire was Julia.
Julia. Are you sure it's not Ashley Lawrence? Um, no, it says there's Oliver Smith. No, Grace Kirby.
No, it's like oh God, don't worry, it's all right. I'm going to.
It'll
It'll come.
It'll come to you. No, I remember that year because that was kind like I know HorrorCon is a thing and has been, but it's not really been something that kind of got onto people's radars. And I say people, I'm referring to myself. Until that year, and then after that, like when that year happened with the cast of Hellraiser doing their reunite, it was like this is the con to be at. Like this really is something special. Have you Googled it?
Barbie Wild. I knew it was blah blah blah,
Ba,
and
ba,
I'm
ba,
like
ba, ba,
blah, blah.
ba.
Yeah, Barbie Wild. but yeah, it's HorrorCon's been going for 10 years this year.
Yeah, it's a 10-year anniversary this year.
And basically it's very, very different kind of convention to your For the Love of Horrors. It kind of ties in all your old classic horrors with, you do get your odd modern bits, but you get very different types of guests.
Mhm.
And Dario, like I said, Dario Argento was at one of
That's
these. And
insane.
one year they just had such different over the years. They had Corey Feldman before anybody else had Corey Feldman, which gave Paul, Wendy, and Jill a breakdown.
Yeah,
And then
and imagine.
they've had Sid Haig, they've had Bill Moseley. I met Jeffrey Combs. I've got his autograph up there. Barbara Crampton. Um, they have those kind of people that you're used, as a person born in the 80s and brought up through that, they're
Yeah,
faces that you see all the time. Your For Your Love of Horror is your big, if you're going for big names like your Matt Lillards, your Skeet Ulrichs, your Neve Campbells, you're looking at your big hitters for
yeah.
horror movies. I know I've just gone off on screen, but you know what I mean, like
No, I
guys
know.
that
No, I know what you mean. I think it's very Oh, I don't want to use the word commercial. That's not
no,
the
it
right
is
word.
commercial horror. The HorrorCon
Mm,
Sheffield is more of your
See, that would be more my thing, like, because that's like, I clearly I can't keep up with modern day horror, even though I saw The Monkey. I've seen it. It's
I
good.
like
I enjoyed it.
I
I
really
really
like.
enjoyed it. But I'm not really good at keeping up to date with things unless like I've getting on the hype train with things. Like Evil Dead Rise, I was very much on the hype train. Like, oh God, I want to see that by myself. But yeah, I love the revisiting back of old horror. Clearly, we've done a whole fucking podcast based around it. So HorrorCon would be something I think it's not set in stone, but I think I'm going this year.
They had Michael McDowell at there one year. There's been so many people across we had Mick from Wolf Creek,
Oh,
John,
hey.
lovely John. That's when he called me the Pommy. See you next Tuesday, and he kept doing the chimney sweep dance with me because he heard my voice and he's like,
Every time.
proper doing it with me. And
On
yeah,
this.
just one of the nicest guys in the universe. John Jarrett, that was it. Yeah, just so many people. Like I met Cassandra Peterson there. She's been there. Elvira, she's done it a couple of times. So
I've never
it's
heard of this. Like I
yeah.
really haven't until that year with the Hellraiser reunion. Never heard of it.
So if this is our 6th year, we've been doing it since 2015. This year will be as many years as we've been sponsoring it. So over the years, they've had some, like I say, some absolutely amazing guests. Um,
Sounds it.
so if you're into your niche style, this is definitely for you. And obviously, if you're into your more commercial, now there's a couple more extra horror cons, popping up. We've got HorrorCon, Horror Rock and Wrestle Fest, which is done by the same people that do For the Love of Horror, and that's at the end of March. They've got David Arquette at that one, and there's lots and lots of people at that one. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They've got a lot of terrified guests. They've got oh, it's definitely worth having a look. There's a lot of the newer
Yeah.
Scream actors and everything in that one. And then you've got Horrified, which is taking place down in Farnborough, and that's got Robert England, and it's got a lot of the Descent girls from it.
Oh.
And it's got Lance Henriksen's there.
Ooh.
Um, then you've got obviously HorrorCon Sheffield in May. These are all in succession, by the way. So end of March, Horror Rock and Wrestle Fest. Middle of April is Horrified. Second week of May it's always near my birthday, so it'll be the 17th, I think, this year is HorrorCon Sheffield, and they've got, because it's their 10-year anniversary, they've got even got Ty West, the director of all the Pearl movies. They've got so many guests. They're
They,
really pulling it out
they
this year.
they really are. And I really feel like there's something that people should get behind. These conventions deserve their spot. It can't just be all about the big ones.
And this one has a bar so you can drink and get drunk. So yeah, and then like I know that HorrorCon Scotland, there's some guys that are doing a lot of the show. There's a big horror con up in Scotland, but
Yeah.
it's a bit too far for us for a one day. We have to make, we have to make the choice.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, horror has not gone out of style in a very, very long time now. Since it dipped in the 90s and then Scream came out and picked up the horror again. And ever since then, it feels like it's been a steady thing. We've not had to fight to get horror back in the mainstream because it died
Oh
out
God, no.
and then it's come back with a vengeance. But this film is more fantastical horror, I want to
Yeah.
say. The best thing about this film for me, in the whole bit of what happens, I know we still got to wrap it up, but the best
Mhm.
bit in this for me is the actual cutaway scene when basically Laurie goes looking for Boone and she finds this weird dog type
Oh my God, did my heart just
creature.
break in that moment?
I couldn't tell you what it was supposed to be, but it was some sort of like quadruped wolf
Big
cat
eyes. There was a
thing.
lot of bug
Yeah.
eyes
And it
in
was just
this.
sort of on the
Oh, the noise, it sounded like a wounded puppy.
and there's this woman's face comes out between the mausoleum and she's saying, "Can you bring her to me?" And I'm like, "You lazy bitch, get out there and get herself." Because you don't understand at this point, you don't know what's occurred
No.
here. And so Laurie picks her up and gives her back to Rachel. I can't remember her name, but her anyway. And Babette then turns from this little thing into this actual human child, and you see these progressions
It was good.
from her being this wolfy dog cat thing to becoming a human child. And then it turns out Babette, when any of them from the Nightbreed go out in the daytime, it devolves them. It
But
can
they're all affected differently by the sunlight. So not one. She says not me going out there would be different to how she would go out there to how he would go out there. But we're all affected. Well, not all because Red Person and Banana Head, they went out in the daylight and they were totally fine. So it's only so this is how these creatures are and monsters are so unique. They're all completely different. Not one of them has the same affliction. So
Porcupine Lady as well, haven't you? She's really interesting. I mean, the makeup on that, the amount of people I've seen that have been recreated.
replicate that.
Yeah, Stan Winston actually, the guys from Stan Winston School did a replica, like a tutorial on how to replicate that makeup.
I have seen that makeup done a fucking million times on Face Off. Like there is that type of makeup, that porcupine looking type of makeup. She looked phenomenal. Absolutely breathtaking. Yeah, she's in there as well with them. Um, yeah, Laurie's on the trek for Boone. Decker's on the trek for them.
The baby Babette touches Laurie, gives Laurie the flashback. Now, the flashback for me was the piece of the whole film for me personally that I enjoyed visually the most.
Hmm.
You saw basically what looked like a hellscape, but it was also like some sort of World War One style war that was taking place. But it wasn't World War One as such, but it was the monsters being persecuted again by the people, and you were seeing like this war, but the monsters were losing
Yeah.
the battle, and they had all these like monsters scaled up on the cross.
Hmm.
It was
It was
very
biblical.
very Clive, like Tortured Souls Clive. Like when
Yeah.
you look at the Tortured Souls, like you say, the figures by McFarlane, they come from Clive's mind, and it was like those, but they were
So
like
fascinating.
placed around in this hellscape, and it wasn't hell. It wasn't hell. It was Earth many
To
years ago
to me
before
it
they.
felt bit well to me it felt biblical. It felt
Yeah,
like, yeah, like a lot of, like in a biblical sense of persecution. That's what, but it was monsters being persecuted. um that's how that's the only way I can describe it, because there was a lot of it felt like a lot of reference to to the Christ story. And
but he
you
does,
know,
doesn't he? That's what Clive
uh-huh,
does. He takes
yeah.
controversial subject matter and manages to manipulate it to fit his
Hmm.
narrative.
And
And
it
you don't
worked.
know you're being fed these things ultimately until you sit back and go, "Ooh, right, okay, yeah."
Hmm. I see you. I don't see you. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that flashback what she got. To me, Laurie is I thought she was a brilliant character. Very much take no shit. That is really her singing in the bar, by the way. She did it live. Hell of a voice. Absolutely stunning. stunning. But yeah, there's a lot of like, especially, and I know I'm skipping to the end, but when at the end Ray's like, "You need to go," and she's like, "Bitch, I have just gone to the ends of fucking hell for you. Like, there's no fucking way I'm going."
The only thing I will say I was disappointed is when Boone's real Nightbreed comes out.
She does shit a brick.
Yeah, but it's like I feel like they missed a trick. He wasn't. I know they were trying to still make him leading man handsome at that point. They weren't trying
Oh
to
yeah,
make him too monsterish.
yeah.
But it seemed a bit of a cop out for me because I felt like
You just
he's
put
gone
some
to all the
markings on his face.
yeah, he went to the extremes and the lengths and the he found it and he went through all these trials and tribulations to get to where he needed to be and they just squiggled on his face a bit. I was like,
But it's swirly motion on the face. Yeah, there wasn't enough done. But
not when
yeah,
you've got,
how?
like you say, banana head, and then you've got the guy who scalped himself, and then you've got like snake
Fucking
head guy, and then you've got the
oh
guy with the snake in his tummy, and then like you've got porcupine lady, and like it's like everybody was so individual. There was no
yeah.
like theme running through except for the
No, no.
glowing monsters, and then they copped out with some squiggly lines on.
You got your swirly little mark on your face. Yeah, this is when because Narcissa helps Laurie in her little quest to find because she really is looking for Boone. Like the amount of times that this woman is running around looking for Boone is ridiculous. I did thoroughly enjoy when she does go, like I mentioned earlier, going into the depths of, Midian and seeing all the other monsters as well, like monsters, creatures, however way you want to name them, because there is some incredibly inventive monster creatures in there. It like really like it worries me where Clive's head is sometimes when you look at the creations that have come out of him, but they are incredibly fascinating.
The thing as well is that if I remember rightly, Doug Bradley's character doesn't want them to be known, doesn't want them to be public.
He wants to protect
Yeah,
them, but
that's all he's ever done and all he's ever known to do. And then it takes for Buttonface to go carve up the poor gas attendant who was the guardian of some of the
yeah.
information of Midian. And it's like he tied him up with some Christmas lights and banged him up a little bit, and suddenly he had loose lips and he sunk the ship. Do you know what I mean? I was like,
Oh, yeah, it didn't take him very long. Like he literally just spilled his guts all over the place. He barely touched him. Um, yeah, yeah, because he wants to protect it, but it's at what like he's very suffocating in his protection. Like he's I think his intentions are good.
yeah.
He just wants to keep his people safe, but clearly Boone has different fucking. What really gets me is Boone, one day a monster, can tell this ancient one what he thinks should be going. Like who do you think you are?
I know. It's like that. That's I think part of the production and the editing that Clive hated. The fact that ultimately they kept making Boone flip between human and monster the whole time. But the whole point of this film was that you were supposed to dislike the humans.
Because
So every
they
now and
are
again,
bad people.
yeah, every now and again you get that thing with Boone where you don't like him
Mm.
because he's so insistent that he knows better, and like these people have lived undetected for thousands and thousands of years, and then in one day Boone comes along and completely destroys a whole city of
Hmm.
people because he just turns up and wants to start a fight with like the police and David Cronenberg, and it's like,
Yeah, this is not a case of the because it is very Frankenstein's monster because the police are just fuck they are horrible nasty people and they are out for blood basically on the back of what fucking Dr. Decker has I would again will never understand how much pull this man has over the police force like Jesus wept he's a good one he's good at what he does but him and the old merry men decide to go off to Midian to start World War Three.
with the priest.
That baffled my brain why he was there.
Because I think he was supposed to be talking to them about what the Bible said about Midian, because apparently Midian is technically a place in the Bible, and it is a real passage he reads. And I didn't get time to Google the passage, but the place it does exist. Hence why you'll see with a lot of Clive stuff, if you don't know already, it is based, like Sammy already said, with the biblical connotations of it. And he was there, and he cited the passage in the film.
Yeah.
Then when he finds and sees it for real with his own two eyes, the priest, he's just completely overwhelmed.
Well, I didn't know this, but Catholics don't believe in the devil. I didn't know that. And he said it himself as well. He was like, I don't believe in the devil. I believe in God, but I don't believe in the devil. I don't know if I'm making that up or not. I could be completely wrong. Please don't come for us,
I
please.
honestly don't know. I mean, I'm the same as you. My grandma was
Was she like mine? Fake as fuck.
my grandma was. We just had lots of Foster and Allen because she was proper Irish, and like we had a massive family. My dad was Roman Catholic. My dad went to
I
school.
remember,
You know,
yeah.
like I'm from a very religious family on that side, and then Christianity on the other side. And technically, I was christened a Methodist, and I've never been to a Methodist church in my entire life. So I renounced Methodism, and now I'm obviously member of the Satanic Temple. But yeah, I'm very confused by it all in that respect, because the priest, as a priest, you're always asking God for a sign that he exists. You're always asking God for a sign that he is responsible for this, that, and the other, you know. And what happens? You're given the answer your own eyes, and you just completely renounce everything. And it's like, well,
instantly. Midian was the land in which Moses lived for
right.
40 years in self-imposed exile. He exiled himself.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Okay. I should know that. I have seen Prince of Egypt. It was in Midian that God appeared to Moses as the burning bush. I know that, telling him to go back to Egypt to free all the Israelites. I do know. I do know that story thanks to the Prince of Egypt. But that guy very much confused me. So yeah, police go. World War III breaks out. It's brutal, it's gruesome, it's horrible. This is not your pitchforks and fire that
No.
you get in Frankenstein. This is full on, like the machinery that they use and the weaponry that they use is brutal.
Yeah, it's your typical townsfolk and police go after the monsters trope, but it's very graphic and very
Violent
gruesome and
and
violent, and yeah.
This is it's a
This is
complete opposite. I mean, don't get us wrong, I say complete opposite effect of what Frankenstein did. I was fucking well and truly pissed off that they were going after him, but hey, that's how you're meant to feel.
But I'm right in saying that this is where Decker realizes the Boone can't die, because Decker stabs him with that great big sword knife, and he's still perfectly like it. I think he says something along the lines of bullets are the same as knives, they can't kill us, or something like that. There's a line that he says that's like that, and he then takes off his mask and he realizes it's Decker that's button face, and it's like, Jesus,
Oh
really?
my God, really? Could you not pierce that? Like, come on, if
To
I
this
can get
point.
it, if I can get it. No, he's after Laurie.
Yeah.
That's what Decker's got his sights set on, is Laurie, and obviously taking down Midian because he's a twat and just wants to see the destruction of this place for no other reason than self-gratification. Because he's got no ties to it, absolutely none. He only knows about it because it came out of Boone's head. So yeah, there's no reason for it. So yeah, well, this whole fucking battle, it is a battle scene going on, and this is, and now I don't know if I am going to cross lines here, but and I say that in regards to which version I am now going to talk about, because Narcissa gets his head taken off, gets killed by Decker.
Not in the
So
one I watched.
hold on. Yeah, the one out it was because he had his head in his hand. You don't see it, it's off camera, but he has his head in his hand. So Narcissa is killed earlier in the battle by Decker, so he's not present during the subsequent like events. And the Nightbreed await Boom in a barn. Okay, that's something about that. But yeah, he gets killed in it's off camera though, and
Right.
in Decker's carrying his head. Because I went, what the fuck? Like, how did that happen? But I think in the original cut, we just don't see him at all.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think you've seen him at all in the final fight. I think we forgot to mention Baphomet,
Oh yeah. I mean,
big statue thing that. Oh yeah, there's prophecy of Boone that doesn't get mentioned until the last fucking 5 minutes of the film.
he was always going to destroy us. The prophecy said so, and I brought
What
it
prophecy?
forward. Well, what did you bite him for then?
You tit.
If the picture's on the bloody wall of you doing it, and what did you go and do? You bloody did it, you silly ass.
Again, 5 minutes before the movie ends, you find out this exposition that this was meant to be completely meant to, was it? Was it really? Because it's all been foreseen by this big fuck off statue whose face eventually moves, which did, by the way, I thought looked pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I actually like the look of the
Look like
face.
Hella.
Yes!
Had like
Yes!
it's the Hella sort of helmet-y kind of thing going off.
Yeah, I enjoyed the statue. But yeah, but Boone's already been in front of the statue previously and survived it.
Mhm.
All right. Like,
Yeah.
what does that mean to us? We have no fucking idea because we don't know anything about this statue. Um,
And then the
I'm
priest goes down to it, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he gets a good whack in the face with some melty water that burns off the top of his hair and gives him the worst.
Yeah, that milky water is not. I don't know what that is. I
It
don't
would
want to know what that is.
it give him the worst receding hairline ever.
I don't. I don't want to know what that water was. No,
You didn't get a milk
no,
on him.
no. I don't know what that was. No.
Yeah, the priest goes down there in the end because that's where the fight ends up. Is Boone going in front of Baphomet? This is the end part. Boone goes up in front of Baphomet and he just goes, "This is this. You've destroyed our home." And Boone's like, "Yeah, I have." And he's like, "Never mind. We can build another one. We've done it before. We'll do it again."
Go forth, and it's now your responsibility to find a new home and help all these people. So trot on. You know.
Ta-ta.
See you later. And then there's a massive fight between Boone and Decker with the going down onto these wooden bridges, and Decker can't swing a knife to save his freaking life. So how he killed all these people, I will never
Oh
know.
my God! Did you see him when he started like getting going?
It's just like, what are you aiming for?
Like, what are you
Um,
doing?
and then the complete destruction of Midian happens. Decker gets stabbed secondhandly by the blade that he's already plunged through Boone. Boone pulls him into the blade and kills him and then throws him off the edge of the cliff into the bottom of Midian. But now this is where there's a couple of endings.
Yes.
Now the ending bit. Now I don't know if this was the end credit scene or it was not, or it was at the end of the movie because I can't remember. But there is a quick flash forward scene to the priest who set up Decker on a cross, and he's saying, "Master, they've done this to you, you know," and he's being all sort of like Igor about it towards him. You know, I will make you come back again. We will make this right. And then he splashes him with some of the milky whiteness, and it like he reaches into his heart with it, doesn't he? He literally coats his hand in it, reaches in and touches his heart, and then
Hallelujah.
yeah,
It's the original ending. So
right,
that's the original ending.
okay,
The Cabal cut, the resurrection of Decker plays out in the post-credit scenes.
right,
In the director's cut, um, so, like I said earlier, Narcissa is killed earlier in the battle by Decker, so he's not present during the subsequent events. The Nightbreed await Boone in a barn while Boone
yeah,
says his goodbye to Laurie. As he must find a new home for the Nightbreed, Boone promises to return to her, but knowing that Boone will retain his youth and immortality as she grows old, Laurie gives him the middle fucking finger and
mm,
says, "No way am I doing that." And she stabs herself,
yeah.
forcing Boone to resurrect her as a Nightbreed, and they profess their love for each other and their journey begins. Is what my notes say. And this is where you see on the prophecy wall Laurie and Boone.
But the thing that got me was he just left them poor fuckers in a shed. Some of them can't go out in the daylight, and it's a shed.
Yeah.
There's
Honestly, he's got no fucking consideration for anyone but himself.
no, he's one of the most selfish people.
It really is. But for all it feels like we have completely ripped this movie apart, I must say I did actually really enjoy watching this last night. And I think that comes down to creature design. The obviously the makeup was just absolutely top notch. Um, watching David Cronenberg be as creepy as fuck, and I love Buttonface. I know I've taken the piss out of the name, but I really do love Buttonface's mask. I think that is some iconic piece of I can understand using that would for to put this as a slasher movie. I can kind of get that. That is very much of an iconic face of, you know, the slasher genre. That could you could put him in a lineup
Yeah,
with other masked killers and he would certainly have a place there and he would fit there. Whether he fits this movie, I don't know. I don't know.
still very different.
Yeah, it very huge disconnect, but I wasn't sad. I wasn't sad to not see it,
Yeah.
and it has kind of like make me like I've said before. I've always been very scared to jump into Clive Barker. His mind. Do I really? Can my mind take that? Like, am I going to be broken by it? But watching this, and I did watch a few interviews, and he was on Craig Ferguson. He's so endearing
Mm.
that it's like I almost want to say like, oh, what else is going on? What else is going on in there? And what I would very much like to do in my lifetime is understand the Hellraiser franchise.
I think the thing is you have to start at the beginning with that one and you have to do your research on it because
Yeah.
it went down some roads in the later ones that were not intended and even
Yeah.
he regrets some of those.
I watched the most recent one, but I didn't quite because for all yes, I had all this stuff to do with Hellraiser growing up, and I never watched it because I didn't quite understand. All I saw was visionary stuff, and like, oh my god, that looks so cool. I'm gonna have that. Um, but yeah, I never really give it a chance. And to be honest, it's something that we have got on a list to do is to cover the Cenobites. But this, I feel like, especially me, I need time with it.
Mhm.
I need time for it to sit with us for a bit. It can't be something that we just off the whim go, all right, okay, we're doing Cenobites next week.
Yeah.
It can't work like that. It's like the same with another horror movie icon we have managed to miss out completely, which is Freddy Krueger, because I'm not a huge fan. But if that's what something we're going to do, I will give him the time that he deserves in order to do a decent episode out of him.
Mm.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
No, I liked it. And the weird thing is, if you'd have asked me before I watched it, have you seen this before? I was convinced I'd seen it before, but after watching it, I don't remember watching it before. It's so weird, this film.
Yeah.
I would have laid money on the fact I'd seen it. I was convinced I'd seen Nightbreed. And then when I started watching it, I was like, I don't recall any of this. Like, I don't know. I maybe
Just
I'm
watch
just
it. Just
getting
watch it for
old
the
and
opening.
forgetful, but yeah, it's
Literally watch it for the opening titles where it says Nightbreed because all you just get all the array of monsters that you don't even see in the movie all coming. Oh, I loved how that movie started. I was like, fuck yes. That is metal as fuck. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I've seen it. It wouldn't worry me to go and jump back into something else. And I know we've done Clive Barker before, but Candyman is such a different side of his brain, I feel, that it's not you've got to look at the bigger picture when it comes to Candyman as opposed to, the monsters and the horror icons and yeah, there's a lot more to going on there. But yeah, I'm all out. I'm all out of Nightbreed. I'll never sing that again, I promise. Next week. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Actually, I'm so excited for the next 2 weeks. Like, they kind of come quick enough. I honestly cannot wait for next week's episode. Have we done found footage before? This is the first time. Yeah, because this is the reason we're doing this one is because
in
it's the first
over
time.
80 episodes.
Yeah.
We've done over 80 episodes. We've been going since May 2023. We have not covered a found footage that I am aware of that I could say off the top of my head.
Oh, I can't remember what we did last week, man. I keep forgetting. I generally keep forgetting what we did last week. Yeah, because I think I remember when we were planning this out, I said we've not done one before, so maybe we should start with the daddy of them all, in my opinion, which is the Blair Witch Project.
Mhm.
I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm gonna make you love it. I'll make you hate it even more for how much I'm gonna bang on about how great it is. Depends on which way it's gonna go. So yeah, doing Blair Witch Project. Very exciting. Are you excited? I'm excited.
I think it's a film that I saw so much when it came out that it lost all thingy for me. So I haven't seen it in a very, very,
Oh, that's
very
good.
long time. So going back with fresh eyes, I'm excited about that because I feel like we've been so the deluge of found footage after this became a hit was just
Mm,
too much. You were just like, every film does not need to make you feel fucking travel sick watching it. Just stop with the found footage.
yeah.
So for me, it's like this was done in a way of which it was so clever. I'm
Unique.
excited to look into the marketing of it. I'm excited to look into how I can get it to Adventures in Babysitting. I am
Oh
so
my God. Have you done it?
of course I've done it.
Shit.
Of course
Go
I've
on
done
then.
it.
Go on then. What are we
Dan,
doing, by the way? Tell them.
Dan's Tedious Link. Okay, are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
So, as we know, David Cronenberg starred as Dr. Philip Decker, and David is mostly known for being the godfather of body horror.
Yeah.
David directed 1986 remake of The Fly. The
True.
Fly starred Jeff Goldblum as Seth Brundle.
Mhm.
Jeff played Detective Zach Nichols on TV's Law and Order Criminal Intent.
Fuck.
When the ratings dipped, Jeff was then replaced with a returning cast member of Law and Order who played Detective Robert Goran, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, and he played Dawson, aka Thor, in Adventures in Babysitting. And there is a shorter one, which was really boring, which was Annie and Bobby was in an episode of Criminal Intent. And
Vincent
you know,
D'Onofrio.
and that was a two-stepper, and I was like, that's boring.
No,
And
no,
so
that was
yeah.
good.
So
That
yeah.
that was good. You got the Fly in there. You got Cronenberg in there. You got Jeff Goldblum in there. Anytime I think of the Fly, me toes want to go curl right up into me
Gotta get
body.
Jeffers in there. Gotta get Jeffers in there.
We'll never do the Fly unless you want to see me actually vomit on here.
There's a couple of films we will never do: Cannibal Holocaust, Green
Obviously,
Inferno, and The Fly, because she cannot do them. They're
I
one
can't.
I would love to do, but I know she's gonna have a mental breakdown if
I
we do.
just can't. Cannibal Holocaust is a fucking no go for sure. I can't do it. Um, nah, I can't. The Fly just. I'm trying my best with body horror, but that just I feel myself going funny. I can't do another episode like what we did. If I don't know if you ever watch back the Hannibal Lecter episode, I sat the entire time with my hands in me hoodie and it pulled down and just because I'm like gripping on for dear life to this end, even though. I love Silence of the Lambs. I love the psychology behind Hannibal Lecter. I just can't get behind the cannibalism.
It would if you could, to be honest, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, it would make your life easier because then you wouldn't have to like skirt around shit. Yeah, so this has been Nightbreed. Next week is the Blair Witch Project. We're on every Monday on YouTube, on the Nerdy Up North YouTube channel. Episodes hit every Monday morning, and the audio for this episode hits Monday tea time. You can find us by searching Monsters Up North from anywhere you get your podcasts from. The links, sorry, for Bleeding Marvelous, Monsters Up North, and Nerdy Up North are where, Dan?
Down there.
They're down there.
Yeah.
Um, fuck. I was on a roll there. If you're on YouTube, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell because our episodes, as much as when they hit Nerdy Up North's YouTube channel, they do hit as a premiere. Not so bothered about that, just the fact that you get the notification that the episode has gone out and it is available for your viewing pleasure. That's it. I've done it. I've managed to wrap it up without sounding like a tit. I'm going to do it now, aren't I? Oh, well, there's nothing else left to say. Say goodbye, Dan.
Are you gonna kill him or not? Only I want his balls and his eyes. Unless you want them. Bye!
Stay spooky, everyone. Bye. Do you want them?